Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to discuss a fairly fresh release from the house of Dolce&Gabbana, and it's called Devotion, and it's the men version of Dolce Gabbana prior to the one that got released, I believe, a couple of years ago with the ad campaign featuring Katy Perry. I don't know why. I don't see Katy Perry as really being a Dolce & Gabbana lady. I mean, obvious reasons, but in terms of femininity. But anyway, Devotion is the new version or the male counterpart for from Dolce Gabbana, and it has notes, or at least the listed notes are of citrus, patchouli, and coffee. And I was always interested in the coffee fragrances because I always thought that nobody can really give a good take on coffee. It always kind of like disappears in a fragrance, even when they try to use it. It's always kind of like a top note that doesn't really last and doesn't do anything interesting. And I would have to say that I'm not the Dolce & Gabbana type for fragrances. I'm not really into their fragrances. There was a great release of Light Blue Forever that they did one summer. It was a very, very nice kind of like grapefruit fragrance, really amazing, but they didn't bring it back anymore, which is a shame. But I do appreciate the Dolce & Gabbana, even though it can be considered as something very a tacky brand, or kind of like a brand that is very much, let's say, nouveau riche, or affluent, or you want to show your money. And of course, it's very colorful and very kitsch sometimes. But I do appreciate that in their fragrances, they do try to do something different, even though it's for mass market. And Devotion for Men is a very interesting fragrance because it tries. I wouldn't say it's very succeeding in what it tries out to do, but it does smell interesting, and I did try it a few times in order to make this review. And when you spray it for the first time, you are met with a bombardment of citrus and coffee. You do smell the coffee in it. It smells very musty. It has a weird effect of like combining the tartness of citruses and the bitterness of citruses with a bitterness of the coffee itself. It creates something very weird, very musty-like, mothball almost, not really pungent mothballs, but it creates something very musty. And I would say that like it did remind me in the first few sprays, like when I tried it on, it reminded me of a perfume from Mugler, Alien for Men, that used dill. That was like the star ingredient, and I think like anise as well, if I remember correctly. And it did remind me of that. And it does develop and it does linger, like this musty smell with citruses and coffee does stay all along. I didn't view this fragrance to develop a lot. Like it doesn't really have facets where you find other things. It does smell like coffee and a lot of citruses, very bright, sparkling citruses, almost like you smell the white part inside a citrus fruit, which is very, very bitter. You do smell that, and at the same time, it's not something I would wear because it doesn't sit good on you in a way. I didn't find that it sits well on other people. There's something very unfinished about this one. And it's like there was a great idea actually when you saw the ingredients, when they announced it, there was a great idea like coffee and patchouli and citrus. What could go wrong? It's very interesting, but it seems to me a little bit unfinished. It does smell like that musty fur for like a couple of hours or so, and then it kind of like lingers to, I wouldn't say generic, but not groundbreaking, kind of like Iso Super maybe, or something like that, but kind of like smelling like colognes that you, or fragrances from the blue, kind of like things, or, you know, niche of things, I don't know. But it's a nice try. It's a nice try actually, and I appreciate it from Dolce& and Gabbana. And in fact, it reminds me, speaking about unfinished perfume, it does remind me of a perfume from the different company, which is the company owned by Jean-Claude Ellena and his daughter Céline. And they have, from the original kind of like releases that they had many, many years ago, it's called Charme et Folie. And that is a very beautiful, beautiful, yet weird herbal perfume that is made with thyme and patchouli and jasmine and rosemary, I believe, and really harsh herbs, really pungent herbs and citruses. So I guess Charme et Folie is what Devotion could have smelled like, but it doesn't really reach there. It feels to me a little bit uneven, a little bit one-dimensional, and it doesn't really take you on a journey. Whether, you know, if the journey was starting your day in Capri, in the favorite location of Dolce and Gabbana, and having oranges for breakfast with a cliche, even though citrus fruits are a winter fruit and not a summer fruit, as people may think. It symbolizes summer in marketing, but those fruits thrive in winter. They are winter fruits. And yeah, so you start your morning with citrus fruits, and then you have your afternoon coffee or espresso after a nice dip in the lagoon or the sea or the Adriatic or whatever. It doesn't really take you there in terms of a journey. It's one-dimensional, yet it's a good try, an interesting try. I really appreciate it. Maybe when they will release an eau de parfum or extract or whatever, they will make it more nuanced and a little bit better, but there's definitely a path and a road to take here. It is interesting. What I will say is that it sets itself apart from all the releases, the boring releases that we see in our world, which is mostly Ambroxan or blue fragrances that stink. So it doesn't stink, but it's very pungent, and I think it's a good blueprint to see what they will release probably in 6 months or a year after, when they release like other concentrations of this fragrance. So this was my review of Devotion by Dolce & Gabbana. If you liked it, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye.